Hi, my name is Harry T, and welcome to Odejuma. Odejuma recognizes the magic of storytelling, from personal experiences to stories of adventure, from tales of resilience to finding joy in the simple things. This story seeks to inspire, entertain, and educate because there is power in the stories of everyday people, and these stories are worth telling. Hey y'all, welcome to another episode of Odejuma. I'm very excited about this episode because I have someone who is trying to make queer nightlife more inclusive across the US, not just even in one part of the country. I have Lam. Hi Lam, how you doing?
Hey, how's it going?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm doing pretty well. I'm pretty excited to get to talk to you. Kind of been following your journey via way of Frolic for a while, and very curious to, dive in and get to know more about you and your journey so far. Give us a little bit of background about you and who you are. Just a little bit of who you are. Who is Lamb?
Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me. I'm so glad. I've been watching your journey as well. And so being a part of it is an honor. So I can give you a little bit more about myself. My name is Lamb. It's short for Lambert, for those who are curious. I'm born and raised in the Bahamas, so immigrant. I moved over to Atlanta, Georgia after I finished high school for college. I went to Morehouse College, HBCUs. I studied music composition. And then after I graduated, came up to Boston. And Boston is where I really plugged myself into multiple communities. I was a part of a church community. I was a part of some queer communities and then also educational communities as well. And I was there for the better part of 14 years. And within that time was able to cultivate a lot of what I wanted to see expressed within the city of Boston. And so what we know now as Frolic was born and have moved on to be in different cities as well. So I just finished living in LA for a year, and now I have returned to Atlanta, my stomping grounds, to continue this work of making queer joy accessible and easy to find.
That's pretty awesome. And I think that because I'm also an immigrant as well, I'm originally
Yes.
from Nigeria. I'm just very curious about, like, I think coming here, there's a little bit of, I mean, it's great to be queer, black and queer and all that good stuff, but
What
finding
attracted to the
spaces.
world?
I know. But finding spaces where you can be yourself, where you can thrive, where you can just, let loose and have a good time is very rare. And people are surprised when they find out that it's very rare for us to find spaces like that. What was the thing that, because I know you said that, when you moved to Boston, that kind of triggered it. But what was the event or the circumstance that made you realize that, okay, fine, I'm not seeing any spaces or events that cater to my needs? I want to start mine.
Yeah, I think it's more of seeing something that was missing and something that I can do to help to solve that problem. And so there was already a movement that was started up by a friend of mine named Andrew Rayner, who he was very intentional about wanting to cultivate spaces for queer Black men, expanded out to Black and brown men, where there were just people he wanted to connect folks. And so there were bar takeovers. It was right when he started, then he needed to move back to Chicago. And so I was like, okay, well, do you mind if I continue this work? And he's like, yeah, go for it. And so, because I realized there were so many Black and brown men who I knew, but they didn't know each other. And the thing about Boston is that at least pre-pandemic, there was a very large population of Black and brown queer men, or just Black and brown folks in general. And so we did bar takeovers to centralize things and bring people together. And so what started off as 30 people then evolved to 40, 50. And then I looked around and was like, okay, maybe there's something here. So I, along with my business partner, Steve, our co-founder, we were like, okay, let's make this a thing. And so from there, it branched out into club residencies, group discussions, and then once we built a lot of social trust, we started to figure out, okay, well, what about a destination event? And then that's how Frolic Weekend came to be. So yeah, I think it was mostly about seeing that there was a problem or an issue and finding the solution.
That is pretty cool. That is pretty cool. And I think I live in Minneapolis. I think that that's kind of like very similar to that dynamic as well. And we are also trying to figure out how can we start creating spaces for connection for Black queer folks in the city. What can we do? And so in like what you're saying, it's very, I feel like it's very, it mirrors both experiences. But you have created a very nice, very, popular destination event. I was on social media and saw all the hype for Frolic Weekend this year. What has that journey been like for you creating and making Frolic Weekend so far?
Yeah, Frolic Weekend, it's now next year will be the 7th year that we've done it. So it's been quite a journey already. But from the first all the way till now, it's just been one big project of connecting people and allowing them to step into a world, press pause on the one that they have to live through day in and day out, right? And just to explore a world where it's open to self-discovery. It's open to discovering the beauty and the wonder of your neighbors around you. And also just being safe to enjoy the queerness, the liberation, the carefree nature that's around you. So it started off again very small. It was a 3-day well, really, I guess a day and a half, maybe two, where we started off on a Friday night and then ended off with a Sunday brunch. And I think we had maybe 90-ish people who came through, which to us, we were like, oh my goodness, that's awesome. We put together this rinky dink flyer on what Canva or something, and people came. So that was awesome. And one thing we just really wanted to do is keep on improving and getting bigger and better. And so it started off in 2019. So getting we're excited and already looking forward to the next year. Of course, the next year is the pandemic, and so that's where it. Yeah, I was distraught, honestly, and that's putting it
Mm.
kindly, because after that first Frolic Weekend was done, that was the first time I like really sat down. I was like, okay, I'm mapping out everything. We're gonna do this and that, and things leading up to Frolic Weekend. So it's not just singularly that event. And so when everything tumbled down, I was like, I was out of it. But when we were, I guess, in the wake of things becoming back to normal, quotation marks, it seemed I was kind of not into going back into or thinking about doing Frolic Weekend again. And it wasn't until my roommate at the time, who's now the executive producer of Frolic Weekend, Ronnie, Ronnie was like, I think we can do this. And so he did some of the legwork of uh, restarting our relationships with the hotels and other key stakeholders in the area. And I was like, you know what? Yeah. And there was also a lot of momentum from people in New York where they were like, hey, like, are y'all doing this again? And I was like, I don't think so. And they were not fine with that answer. They were not letting me say no. And so between Ronnie and a lot of people who had a very sincere demand for Frolic Weekend. Now we're back at looking at shaping up the 7th year. So it's been incredible journey, and to think that I was almost about to give up on it, it's
Mm.
something that, yeah, I just want to make sure that I stay true to the original essence of it, which is to connect people in a way that embraces their magic.
That's pretty cool. I love that. And what is your favorite memory from this last Frolic Weekend? What was something that happened that you were like, oh my God, that was like the highlight for me?
Well, the highlight for me, and I think everybody who comes to Frolic Weekend, is the pool party. The pool party is just one big bonanza of just fun. It's just the weather always seems to work out really well for it. And it's just a beautiful sight to see. That's when I really, well, through the practice of organizing community, what I try to do is step back and just like survey the crowd and see and just take it all in. And so the pool party is one of those that I tend to do that a lot. But I also really enjoy folks who come through to share their talent with us. So we had Justin come through and give a great performance. Oh my goodness, that Justin really knows how to perform and get a crowd going. We also had a lot of familiar faces when it comes to DJing and also some new DJs as well. So a new DJ that we had was DJ Panda out of Houston, and we had Prosperity Room out of Chicago. Both of them were amazing. And it was good to bring back DJ Kid from LA. And this year we did something a little different where instead of just bringing DJ Kid back as a DJ, we brought Kid back and also the party that he has been developing and it's been growing in rapid speed. It's called Sex Tapes. And so we always want to have Frolic Weekend be a place where we can highlight and feature queer talent that is up and coming and center parties or events that are already happening that can use a platform. So I was really happy to bring Sex Tapes. Of course, DJ Worthy was there too. And we had Frenchie as well. And I think the last part was was a last highlight was the boat cruise. It was the first year that we've ever done a boat cruise, and Frenchie was the DJ. And I think it was a highlight for me because I didn't go on the boat cruise. I brought everybody to the boat, and then I told people, farewell, I'm going to stay here. Because
Why did
the
you go on the boat cruise?
So I tell people, if you want to see me at my worst, put me on a boat. I have the worst seasickness. It's terrible. And I did not want to chance 700 plus people seeing me throw up on the side of the boat. It might have
That's
made
real.
for a great story, but I could do without.
That's real. I feel you. So are you looking forward to Frolic 2026?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. We have 353 people who've purchased their tickets. And yeah, so we're really on track to having a even larger showing of people. This past June, we were just shy of 1,200 people, and my goal is to get us to 2,000 people. We'll see. Fingers crossed. It's good to have goals, but yeah, so I'm really excited. I'm excited to, yeah, and we have a lot of ambassadors as well. 50, around 50-ish ambassadors who are spreading the word. Some of those have not even been to Frolic Weekend, and they're
Mm.
really excited to get people to come to an experience that they have never even gone through themselves. So I think that speaks to the magnetic nature of Frolic Weekend and also some really good social media marketing.
You can never underestimate social media marketing for sure.
That's why I always ask people when they come to an event, like, "How did you find out about this?" And if they say
Yeah.
Instagram, like, "Well, geez, I guess it actually is working."
Yeah, it is working on your branding is pretty dope. So, it's gonna definitely draw people. I know that like as queer folks living through this moment, we don't have to go, deep into the weeds of what this moment is. I mean, we are all living through it. But as queer folks, as Black queer folks living through this moment, what do you want this space for Frolic to be for people who come and find community, find some form of escape? What do you want it to feel like for them?
I want it to feel like how it's always been feeling, and I think that's something that I pride myself on, is that no matter the size of the festival, as we've increased it started from 3 and now it's 6. We started with just having 1 DJ for the whole time, and now we have, I think we have at least over 5. And then starting from 90 people and growing to about 1,200 folks, I think one thing I want to say the same is the vibe. And as an organizer, that was one of my insecurities or one of my anxieties going into it year after year, is that as things progress and get bigger, if the vibe will stay the same. And so I'm happy to report that it has. And I think a lot of that is because we really take seriously the data that we collect from people when we give out surveys, or even before they get there, folks are filling out some forms so that we can already figure out what it is that people want that will maintain this vibe. But I will say that I'm always looking forward to the world building aspect of Frolic Weekend. That's been a term that has really stuck to the forefront of my mind, world building, cultivating something that will allow folks to press pause on their current reality and escape into something else where they are surrounded by people who they might not even know. And the other thing that's crazy about Frolic Weekend is that people come from the same city and meet people who live where, like, just down the block from them, all the way in the tip of Massachusetts. So the magic that comes with world building, when we put together a theme, we really map it out and bring it to life. And it's really fun to see people bringing themselves into it, whether it's through fashion, whether it's through their personality. It's just a really beautiful sight to see. So world building, that's what we're about at Frolic.
That's pretty cool. And so for folks who are kind of interested in going to Frolic Weekend next year, what can they do? How can they be a part?
Yeah. So we have a WhatsApp group that runs year round. And of course, it really popping during Frolic Weekend, but it is a year-round conversational tool where people can pop in, get to know people before they get there, ask questions. I'm in there as well, along with Ronnie, our executive producer, and so all of our ambassadors as well. So if you're curious, please join the WhatsApp group so that you can get your questions answered much quicker than even social media sometimes. And also stay tuned on our website, on our social media, join our email list. And we're big on providing as much information as possible because a trip like Frolic Weekend is not something that you can just slap together and just go. There does take a lot of preparation. So we want to be as informative as possible.
Yeah. And can folks buy tickets already?
Yes, yes. Tickets are on sale. They started the Sunday of Frolic Weekend. Put out pre-sales. And so from that point to now, we already have 353 people who've purchased tickets. And so you can join that number and be another person who has their ticket ready and is excited for Frolic Weekend.
That is pretty cool. What would you say is the thing that in like 10 years or 15 years, the Frolic brand, how do you want it to evolve?
I want Frolic to evolve where it is seen as a lifestyle, the Frolic lifestyle. And I think a lot of that is seen within Frolic Weekend. And I want that to be maximized as much as possible, where it translates not just for a festival, but how people live, move, and have their being, how they interact with other people, how they see themselves in the world, that it will be very grounded and what it means to frolic or to live a frolic lifestyle. So, really being focused on joy. Joy is our core principle. We say that if it doesn't lead to joy, then we ain't got no business doing it. And I think joy leads to liberation, and liberation leads to freedom. And I want people to be free in how they express themselves, be free in who they love, and yeah, just be free. So that's how I see Frolic expanding, um, really philosophically.
That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. And how about you, like personally though, like to be a community organizer, whether you are doing like advocacy work, trying to change legislation, or you're bringing people together to cultivate spaces of joy, and belonging, it's a heavy task and it can be very draining sometimes. And so how about you? Like, how is Lamb away from the work that Lamb does? How does Lamb find time for, to center, to find moments of peace and joy, like even in you or your like a personal life or something?
Yeah, I mean, I will say that part of creating these spaces, I think there's a it's to also bring me joy as well. So there is maybe a selfish part of this as well, where I'm building this because I think that this is something that I too would want to dive into and really be a part of. And so that's what really drives me. I like to work. I like to make sure that what I'm doing is functioning and operating. And so I do love the work of organizing. But I do also find solace, peace, energy, and being surrounded by folks who are in my circle. I have a really, really good support system where I don't, sometimes I don't have to, I can turn the switch off. And um, not to say that, of course, you want to be as, 100%. Um, but it's with your circle where you can really just like let your hair down and be energized. So I do that. There are glimpses of just uh, maybe I can do a little bit more of that, but I'm just so keen and focused on my goals and wanting to build a community, a village that I can be proud of and others can be proud of as well.
That's pretty cool. Do you have any other, like, what are your other goals or dreams or aspirations that are not tied to Frolic Weekend?
Well, really relearning my new city of Atlanta. I love so the one thing about me is that I love to walk, and I think that I can add that into one of those things that Lamb does. When I really want to just get the juices flowing or the ideas flowing, or even just to have some time to myself, I walk. And if you know anything about Atlanta, it is not a walkable or walk-friendly city. Atlanta hates pedestrians. So
Yeah, yeah.
but I am determined to make it a walking city. So sometimes what I do is I will, if I'm meeting somebody, I'll take a car over there. And then when the meeting is done, I'll walk back to either my home or wherever I need to go to whatever's next on my journey. And it's just my time to myself. I'm either listening to music, I'm either praying, I'm either listening to an audiobook or even just jotting down an idea on my notes app. It's just time for me in motion. I guess, yeah. So another time that I'm not necessarily resting, but it is a really transformative and restorative time for me.
That's pretty cool. Are there like any other ventures you want to go into? Any other creative avenues you want to explore?
Well, I'm fascinated with AI and tech in general. So I definitely want to do some more digging into that and seeing how AI can further and progress queer communities, especially queer communities of color. So definitely looking into AI and tech. And I also am big on media. So whether it is animated or visual art, or even film. I'm just curious to see how those mediums can help to further represent queer communities and showcase its beauty and also invite for more curiosity. So
Okay.
yeah, that's something I'm thinking about.
That's pretty cool. So currently Frolic does events in Atlanta and Boston. Currently, are there plans to expand to other cities?
So yeah, so we have Frolic Boston, Frolic Atlanta, and Frolic LA. And so and then we have some events coming up in this month in DC. So this Saturday, we're going to be at the Arlo Hotel, the rooftop, doing a workout situation where some lucky people will be able to win some free Lululemon gear. And then we're also going to be in New Orleans on October 24th. It'll be our first time doing a party in that area. So join us. We'll have DJ Zeus and DJ Itza there to give you the vibes and just dancing. But essentially, I want to be wherever queer folks of color are, whether it's a major city or a medium-sized city, wherever folks are able to gather, I want Frolic to be there or Frolic to assist in folks who are there to cultivate those communities. And the same basic steps that we did almost a decade ago in Boston. Those same principles and those same practices ring true to this day of just small intentional movements that build up and develop into huge impacts. Yeah, I think that's where I see Frolic venturing into, wherever you are.
That's pretty cool. Okay, okay, cool. And I'm just I have a little curiosity. You're doing a lot of great stuff across the country. Like I said earlier, to make queer spaces inclusive for Black and brown folks. But you're also a child of immigrants. You know, if you have the immigrant experience, there's always the tussle, the tussle and pull with sexuality, gender, and your identity. How have you been able to navigate that? And what was that like for you?
Yeah, well, I mean, I knew from high school that although I love my country and I visit whenever I can, at least twice a year, because you can't beat the beauty of back home in the islands, the beach, and the great food. The food. I tell them they have to roll me back to the airport every time I'm done because I am just gorging on food. But I just knew that that's not where I wanted to be planted and live my life because I would not have been able to really live it to the full potential. And so I really have dived head on into building community out here. And I will say that the thought does come to my mind a lot where I'm like, well, I'm putting a lot of effort and energy into building things out here. And one of my biggest dreams would be to do something frolic related in the Bahamas, in the Caribbean, in countries in Africa, just like places where there is homophobia and where they could really use some more effort and rolled sleeves to get some work done. That's one of my biggest goals as well. So to go rewind to the question of where I see Frolic in 10 years, really in the immediate future, I want to do more when it comes to places where I'm from and places that also uh, expose I have some of the same intricacies when it comes and challenges when it comes to living your life as authentically as possible as a queer person of color.
And how are your folks and your family immediate? How was that journey been like open to them about your sexuality, and where are they now?
Yeah, so for some, it was an immediate like, okay, yeah, of course,
Mm.
we ride with you and everything. And then there have been some where it's more of a journey and a journey of grace, honestly. And young me was very impatient when it came to family who just didn't get it. Uh, and it wasn't until I matured a little bit to realize that I have been in this body for the past 35 years. I've lived with this mind and my thoughts and denials and acceptances of my own. And there are just folks who are family who I know love me. There's no doubt about it. There are just some things that they don't understand. And
Mm.
once upon a time, I was also a person who didn't understand things about myself. And it wasn't until I did some learning and some growing on my own that I was able to get to the mentality that I am right now. But that also took time for me to do for myself. And so the maturity comes in with me giving grace to folks in my family to also have a chance to learn and to grow and to expand their language and their mindset for things. Of course, I think it is helpful when there is a curiosity and a sincerity when it comes to learning about what it means to be queer and to expanding it to it's not just about sex. Let's get sex on the side. Yes, it's a part of it somewhere, but queerness is really about it's really about seeing the world for the norms and the ideals that are thrust upon us and saying no, that does not have to be the case. We don't have to ascribe to those ways of life, and giving ourselves the opportunity to cultivate a life for ourselves despite what society has to say, despite the social norms and whatever people have to say. So the status quo, that's what I want to say. Despite the status quo, that you can cultivate a life that is uniquely yours. And so yeah, that's something that takes time. So for the family members who are genuinely curious and to those who aren't, I have extended a good amount of grace and yeah, and I'm happy about that.
Okay, cool. That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. I'm really happy that you explained it that way, and also that you have a desire and a longing to extend grace. And I feel like sometimes, I think too, everybody has their own journey on acceptance, how they deal with people who are not accepting, people's journey to acceptance as well, who are not necessarily queer. And I think that, add a little bit of nuance, we can hold space for everything, for everybody's journey at the same time. And so thank you for sharing that as well.
Yeah.
I have some.
Sorry, I was gonna say that there's sometimes within that, with the non-understanding that you might experience, is that sometimes it's just based on fear and being able to walk people through that fear. Because I've come to a place where I'm not scared of myself or fearful of whatever that I might have been thinking about, but also walking people through that and dismantling and demystifying things as well. So I just wanted to add that too. Family is it's also okay to get to a place where you don't have contact with family. If you feel as though this relationship is toxic and that it is doing you more of a disservice, then it is okay to cut family members out of your life so that you can live more authentically for yourself.
That's real. That's real. Thank God for choosing family, and thank you, Lamb, for preaching.
I mean, so another thing that folks don't always know about me, I don't lead with it, but I am an ordained minister in the African Methodist Episcopal Church. So sometimes I do get a little preachy, so forgive me. But I think that also adds another nuance and another layer to just not my queerness, yes, and also another way of showcasing that you can live a life of faith, and it does have an intersection with queerness as well.
I have a little curiosity about that. I don't know if you will mind talking more about that, uh,
Yeah,
because of I feel like a lot of people. I'm a church kid. My mother is a pastor. I
yeah.
grew up very I grew up very Christian. And so there was a, when I was younger, I wanted to be a pastor at some point.
Really?
Yeah, when I was like before I turned like 9. I remember I went to Sunday school and they were teaching us the gospel of Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. And I was like, oh, I want my name to be Matthew. And so I want my name to be Matthew, and I want to be a pastor. And then my mom will call me Pastor Matthew. It was the whole thing.
I was just like that.
It was a whole thing. And so, I went through that. I went to a private Christian university as well. And so when I was there, I was in like the youth group. I mean, I grew up a Christian, like as a church kid. You grew up as a church kid, but you experienced life in the mainstream. So there was R&B, but there was also gospel and CCM. And
Yes.
then when I got to sorry, I feel like I'm going on a tangent, but I'm sorry. I
I'm
promise
here
I'll
for it.
land the plane. When I went to college, or university as we called it, I got in. I had just broken up with my first boyfriend at the time. I was like 17, and I dated this guy off and on for like from like 16 to 17. And so we broke up, and I was like, okay, fine. Maybe God is like telling me that this homosexual lifestyle isn't working for you. And so
Right.
I got into college, and I was like, I'm gonna focus on God, I focus on Christ. Thank God I'm in a Christian university. And then so I started doing all the things, all the very Christian things, only listen to Christian music. I threw away all my music CDs that were secular, did the whole thing. And I feel like, at least I tried for like one semester to not to be very Christian. And then from the second semester, it was like a double life. It was, you're still being gay in private and you are in church preaching or ministering or at youth group. And so that was like the start of the push and pull between faith and sexuality. And that was from like 2006 to like maybe 2016 of having that dance of like, who am I and what does, I really, I find peace and I find solace in my spirituality and in this religion, but this is who I am. I've tried so many times. I've done conversion therapy twice. It's not working, and so I'm struggling, and I guess eventually I had to leave and had to like choose one over the other. And a lot of people who are queer have similar stories or stories that mirror that, where they feel like they have to choose their sexuality over their faith. And I know there are some that, like you, who have found a way to balance both. So I'm really curious if you wouldn't mind sharing how you were able to get to that space where you were able to navigate and find peace in your faith and your sexuality.
Well, yeah, again, it's a journey. And funny thing, starting from my childhood, my uncle, who was my pastor, he brought me up in front of the church one day and was like, Lambie, because that's what he called me. That's what all my family calls me. He was like, Lambie, you are going to be a pastor. When you grow up, you will be a pastor to many people, and they will look to you for spiritual guidance, and you will preach and be great. And I'll tell you, ever since that day, I did everything in my power for that to not be the case. 'Cause I was like, I don't want to be nobody's pastor. What? That's crazy. And so I went, so yeah. So ever since that day, I did anything that would not be anything related to uh, me finding being a pastor. So I went to school, and well, when I went to Morehouse, I studied music because I was like, get me the furthest away from like I love music. I love creating it, and I'll just stay in there. And I was also part of the Morehouse College Glee Club, and part of our sometimes when we did a concert, it would happen at a church. And uh, during the summer, I was a singer at a I was a singer at a church, and I was like, you know what? Because at that point, I just saw it as me. It was just a job. I could sing, and they needed people in the choir, and they were paying for people to sing nicely in the choir. That's not a problem. It's still, I know I'm in a church, but I'm seeing it strictly as this is a monetary kind of thing. And a lot of my peers who are in the Glee Club, they did it as well. So but something was just like, you know what? Just listen. Like when the pastor goes up and preach, like just listen. And it was Raphael Warnock in Atlanta, Georgia at Ebenezer Baptist Church. And I just loved what he had to say. I can't tell you what it was, but I can tell you how it
Mm-hmm.
made me feel. And I felt energized. I felt motivated, and I felt spiritually renewed. So much so that I was like, okay, well, let me investigate a little bit more and yeah, and see about this. So after I left Atlanta, I went to Boston, and the first community that I was plugged into was a church. Shout out to one of my best friends in the world, Greg Groover, who was my first pastor there in Boston. And he was like, you could go to any church. It don't matter. There's so many churches in Boston. If you want to come over here, then you can. Charles Street AME Church is where he pastors. And I was like, you know what? No, I'm gonna check your church out. And I tell you no lie, I joined that day. And there were two services, and I was like, you know what? This is my community. I like the music. I like the people. And it was a vibe. And I really plugged myself in. And during that time, there were pastoral residents, and they were people who wanted to be pastors. And this was their time of growing and learning. And I really was fond of them. It was Tabitha and Craig, and I loved the way that they preached. I loved the way that they expanded upon, showed me in ways where things don't have to be restrictive, things don't have to be limited. And you can preach a gospel that is simple, full, and free, and brings that freeness and freedom to other people as well. So much that then I was like, well, how did y'all learn all this? They said, we went to seminary. That's when I found myself at Boston University School of Theology, and I just dove headfirst into it and studied and learned and was exposed to so many different kinds of people. I think that was my first time really being in intentional community with folks who are Korean, folks who are trans, folks who have already explored a lot of who they are as queer people and people of faith, and just so many different kinds of people where I was just learning at a rapid pace. And it's also where I really became more aware of my knack for building community because I plugged myself into being a community life coordinator. So every day, I organize something called community lunch, where faculty, staff, students, we were all in one place sharing a common meal and having enriching conversations about whatever was happening during that time. And so that's when it became clear to me that there is an intersection. It's not just here and here, and we're just in parallel motion, that there is some crossover. And I think that's also so I've been able to translate a lot of what I've learned through community in the AME church, community in grad school at BU, and then also practicing in the field. I was a part of a church that wanted a community manager. And so I did a lot of that work of connecting people. So I was able to translate a lot of that into my work now as Frolic. And I do see Frolic personally as a ministry. And that's how I bring myself into it. Not necessarily as a way, Frolic is not me bringing people closer to Christ. It's bringing them closer to something that is what I consider divine, which is joy. Joy is divine. Joy is that spark that illuminates our mind to see celebration, to witness how we can be in better relationship with people and how we can share love and just be a fuller human being experiencing the fullness of life and
Hmm.
what life has to offer, whether it's the great things or the not so great things. But that joy, if you just hold on to that, you can pull through and make it and make it through. So that is how I see I've been able to really find foundation in my queerness, um, and also my craft of putting together events that center the joy of queer people of color. And I'll leave you with this, where it's just like, I tell people, God don't make no mistakes. You are exactly who you're supposed to be. Um, and I think the greatest sin, and I put that in quotation marks, is for somebody to not be their absolute 100% self. And the world gives us so many reasons to not be ourselves and to conform and to just wear a uniform and just blend in. When I think this joy that's divine and bigger sometimes than even yourself is calling out for you to break free from that and to be yourself loudly, unapologetically, and so much that it convinces and gives other people permission to do that for themselves. And so that is also what really propels me to continue the same lamb that you see in the club, throwing ass, shaking, twerking, whatever. It's the same lamb that you will see in church. I am cutting up. I am boisterously singing to the music. I am cheering on whoever is preaching. If they preaching something that makes sense, don't preach no, I'm not here to be. But I am very adamant on giving you the same experience. It just happens to be in different environments, but you're going to get the same me. But all that for the possibility that somebody might see the way in which I'm living and know that that's okay. I can do that. I can be that as well.
That I can be myself, I can show up as myself. And I think that, I'm happy that you shared that. I feel like a lot of people, myself included, have struggled with the knowing of. And I feel like in this year in particular, for me specifically, it's been like, it's been hard. And it's like, okay, you once back then when life was hard, you just say a prayer and you have faith and you trust and you know everything's going to work out. And a part of you believes that now, but the mechanisms and the things and the tools you have because of navigating your sexuality and also just even having a deeper understanding of the Bible personally. I think that as a person, my sexuality made me interrogate my faith a little bit more. And so even move away from, sexuality, there are practices that I'm also now, looking with the side eye, personally. And so it's like, okay,
Yeah.
I don't have those tools available to me anymore to navigate this time in my life that is hard or that is strong. But, you've given us a lot to reflect on in the sense of like, there can be space and there's room for both. Yeah, it's a lot to think about.
Yeah. And I invite people to have that space for questioning because that is part of faith. Faith is not certainty. It's not, or it's, I don't think it should be grounded in 100% certainty, but being open to exploring, being open to the mystery, being open to the unknown. I think that is the key to navigating this thing called queerness in faith, that you're just remaining as open as possible. Yeah. And I kind of feel like that's the same thing with Frolic Weekend, where even despite all the videos that we put out to advertise and showcase what people can expect to experience, that is still just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to the full experience of Frolic Weekend. And it's not until people come ready to explore and being open to what might transpire is that's when they realize, like, and it's a transformative experience for a lot of folks. And then that's when they go out and they're evangelists and ambassadors and spreading the good news, the good word of Frolic. And it's only because they were open to the possibility of maybe, I don't know.
Okay, cool. That's exciting. That's exciting. I have some fun rapid fire questions for you. So the people can get to know you a little bit better.
Hmm.
The first one is what are the top 3 songs on your playlist right
Ooh, well, I am obsessed with Wicked still. So that whole soundtrack, honestly. And the word unlimited that shows up a lot in that soundtrack, that's been propelling me forward for a lot. The sense, the feeling of being unlimited and wanting to just give of myself so much. What else? Anything Beyonce. Duh. Like,
now?
I love the Cowboy Carter album. Looking forward to Act 3. I guess Virgo's Groove is one of my favorites. And American Requiem. Um, what else? Third one, basically anything Ariana Grande. I love that girl.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay,
that's what.
cool. Cool, 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 cool. I know we talked about like your top 3 songs that you're listening to right now on your playlist, but what is your personal theme song?
Von Dutch by Charlie XCX. I love that song. Like, if you want to see me just like come alive, put on Von Dutch by Charlie XCX, and yeah, you'll get that.
Okay, Von Dutch, Charlie XCX. Good to know. What is the event that you, as an event promoter yourself, what is the event that you have been to that completely changed your life? You were like, damn, this I dream of doing
Oh
something like.
my goodness! Last year, was it last year? Yes, I went to EDC in Las Vegas, and that blew my mind. It was not on my bingo card at all to go to an EDM concert, well, festival really, because it's 3 days and huge. Like, it's at the like a NASCAR speedway, and
Mhm.
there are so many different stages, so many different DJs. everything all at the same time, everything everywhere all at the same time, so music's playing, then there's different activations going on. Like that is a world. And that's how I really got into the whole mindset of, okay, I need to start world building when it comes to Frolic because um, this was just incredible. Like my mind was blown because even like on an operational level, how are all of these things happening at the same time? And it just seemed so effortless. It just was so seamless. And so just like the producer in me was just like, how do you do this? you know, yes, people come for the music and everything, but it's really the culture that is at EDC too. The way that people come dressed, the way that people come in their rave families. They have the totem poles where they have like a different like a sign that it's to help people find each other if they get lost. Because like me, I'm a wanderer. I will go on a side journey like that. Like you gotta keep your eyes on me at all times. Uh,
Yeah.
but yeah, they'll have their totem. It'll have something really funny on it. People really put a lot into the candy. So you get something called candy where sometimes it's beads, like different wristbands. Sometimes I'll wear my candy because there are ravers around and they'll be like, "Oh, did you go to?"
It is.
Yeah. Mhm. Yeah, so EDC, when I went May 2024, it blew my mind. So if I could really like add more to the answer about Frolic in 10 years, something that looks really like EDC. EDC is my Roman Empire. Like yeah, I talk about it a lot. A lot. I
Okay.
know my team gets so like, okay, we get it. Yeah, I love that. And for it to be in so many different places too, it's just incredible to me.
Yeah, and it's never wrong to dream big, you know. If you can think it, you can do it, you can dream it. Or if you can dream it, you can do it. Is that how it goes? Yeah.
Whatever it is, I believe that I know to do is dream big. And life has taught me in many different ways that it's great to dream big, but those big dreams are made up of very small, intricate parts that lead up to the the big thing, the big shebang. Uh,
Mhm.
but yeah, EDC. And of course the Renaissance concert. Oh my God, that woman just knows how to put on a
Yeah.
show.
Yeah. Yes, it knows how to put on a show. I think that, I feel like Renaissance was beautiful, but I didn't think I could have been more wowed by Cowboy Carter. Like
Mm.
the attention to detail. I can't wait for the film to come out. Let's see what went into making that.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
there were some glimpses of it in the Renaissance film. You know, there are some like super beehive folks, and they found the horseshoe that Beyonce was like this past concert, she was flying around on it. They saw it in the Renaissance film. So, because I mean, Cowboy Carter was supposed to come first. So,
Yeah.
yeah, listen, those people, thank you for doing the investigative journalism that has been
Thank you for
lacking.
the word.
Yes. But yeah, the Renaissance concert, that had me floored from start to finish. And you cannot leave a Beyonce experience without being transformed, unless
Yeah.
you have no heart or no ambition of how you can try to be the Beyonce in your own field. Because I think that's how people walk away from her concerts.
Yeah.
Like, how can I be this and that?
Mm-hmm. Oh, unless you're a hater too. So there's that.
Yeah, yeah. You have to be like so committed to the hate of like that. It's just you're just a crazy person at this point. Like
Yeah.
it's even a dating requirement of mine. Not to say that you have to love Beyonce, but if you say ill of the Queen of Miss Mamas, this I can't do it. I'm not gonna subject myself to that.
Yeah. Okay. I'm not mad at it. I've been in the Beehive since '97, so I'm not. Hey, it is what it is. What is one TV show you could binge forever?
I can binge so many. Love, Schitt's Creek, Bob's Burgers, Abbott Elementary, Grey's Anatomy.
Oh.
Yes, I
I finally
love that.
gave up on Grey's Anatomy though. I was a huge fan. Season 21, I was like, I can't do this anymore. I literally started season 21
Mhm.
and I was watching, every week I'll watch the episodes, but there was an episode where I was on TikTok the entire time. And I was like,
It was just like background.
I don't think this is working for me anymore. I love the show to death. I tried. So people left at season 10. I stayed an extra 10 seasons. And so
Yeah. You did the work.
uh, I did the work, but I'm done. I love the show though, rooting for the show. I want the show to go to season 50 if he can, but
Honestly, make a soap opera out of it.
yes.
A telenovela. But
Yeah.
yeah, I'm obsessed. What other TV shows out there? Yeah, but I'm usually like a comedy girly. Like make me laugh.
Mm.
And I don't like to pay people to scare me. So I'm not going to a horror film or nothing. But yeah, action or really I love a good smart comedy.
Okay. Like any reality shows you watch?
I'm not into reality and not for a lack of trying. Ronnie, executive producer for Frolic Weekend, reality girly down, like knows all of the details, everything. Like even the
Yeah.
most uh ex- extraneous TV or reality shows that I had never even heard of. Like I'm no like Real Housewives ish, I guess, but no, I have enough of reality for myself,
That's
so
real. That's
I
real.
don't
I
need
feel
it.
you.
Yeah,
The final rapid fire question is, what is your guilty pleasure?
like I don't feel guilty about nothing. I guess one thing that because yeah, it's not. I'm not guilty about it, but one thing that people, well, I really love. I'm greedy. I love to eat food. I wouldn't call myself a foodie. I'm just greedy, and so if I eat something salty, I like to follow it up with a little something sweet. And I am big on sauces, barbecue sauce, ketchup. I love ketchup. Like, give me a plate of fries and a bowl of ketchup. I'm all set. You don't have to. I'm fine. You can walk away and know that I am good.
Okay, cool. Note to
It's not a
self,
fun
get
guilty
lamb.
pleasure, but yeah, that's all I got for you.
Note to self, get lamb, fries, and ketchup for sure.
Correct.
Okay,
Yes,
cool.
and I'll be okay.
Awesome, awesome. As we wrap up, is there anything you want to live with our listeners of today's episode?
Yeah, if you can leave with anything, it is to be open to what it is that life has for you. And a good way to do that is to be in touch with your joy. And I say that a really good way to do that is remembering your why. Because when you remember your why, that is the spark that keeps you ticking. That's what keeps you moving forward. Forward is always the destination. Yeah, that is the key thing that I commit myself to moving forward. And I think a lot of that comes from the light that I receive from joy. So remember your why. You're not doing this for no reason. There is a purpose that you are committing yourself to. So do it. Do it. Get it done.
Thank you so much, Lab. This has been such great conversation. I've learned a lot. You've actually, you've inspired me. You've had me thinking about a bunch of things. So very appreciative of you coming on, being open, and sharing your journey. Thank you. Did you have a good
Absolutely.
time?
Oh my God. Yes. For this to be our first time meeting, I feel like I've just been talking with someone I know for forever. So thank you so
That
much for being hospitable and your questions are so thoughtful. And I'm glad that I said yes.
Thank you. Thank you for saying yes. And also thank you from wherever you're watching and listening from. Thank you so much for staying with us and for listening. You can find out more information about Frolic in the description. I'm going to share how you can get tickets, how you can just go to the website and find out more information, join the WhatsApp group and all that good stuff in the description. So yeah, thank you for listening and watching, and I will see you next time. Odejuma.